Hello! And welcome to Jarviskjir Everhold. We're here! Where's my light? Well, yes. It's actually a requirement to be on the show.
Oh, I'm queer now.
That's how we get ya.
That is the agenda.
Yeah.
You
My
figured
pastor
it out.
warned me about this.
Oh no.
How's everyone doing? Good, great talk team.
Oh yeah, I've been listening.
I mean, it's your birthday. That's the important thing.
It's my birthday. Yeah, it is.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy. Okay.
I'm so glad that petered out on its own before I started muting people.
I just saw your face and I was like, I could use my harmonies.
No, it was
That's life.
beautiful. I've been sung happy birthday twice, so I'm good for
Well,
birthday.
I've been sung happy birthday 2.5 times.
Yeah, 2.5 times. I like it. It's good.
We
That's
need
about half.
a better tradition than happy birthday. Because no one wants to sing happy birthday, aside from the one person who wants to play happy birthday.
There's a happy birthday song on YouTube, and it's like, "It's your birthday today," and then it screams the name.
That's a good point.
It's so funny.
I know the one I want.
That tune just made me think, it's your birthday, your mighty birthday.
Yeah, me too. But I know what I want, and I've referenced it a bunch of times. It should be the Marilyn Monroe one.
Oh yeah.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Sexily
like,
sing
yes,
happy birthday, Mr.
every
President, to your
birthday.
dad.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just like,
It's the agenda.
yeah.
That is not my.
It's my agenda.
That is not my agenda.
I lost my agenda in grade 7. Never found it since.
Did you have?
It's
Is it here? Can we start on a tangent? Did you have like a school planner thing? Because we had them, and they were called diaries.
Yes.
Yeah, we used to get them every year, and they called them agendas. Until grade 10 in high school, where you still could get them, but you had to pay for them.
Ooh.
And nobody was like, I'm not giving you $10 for that. I knew one person who bought their agenda in grade 10, and she's a neurosurgeon now, so
Ooh.
buy your agendas.
Buy the agenda.
That is statistical. I don't know
Mine had,
how
like-
or what it means.
Mine had like inspirational quotes and
Yeah.
like just good life tips, like drink water and stuff like that, just to remind us.
Say
I feel
hydrated.
like I grew up in an age where they hadn't
Nobody
realized
checked.
you gotta drink water yet.
Water.
I
That's
have
it,
another
yeah.
one. What's that other birthday song that goes like, "Happy birthday to you.
That one's okay.
Happy birthday."
And that's why it's good, because of the that's the best bit.
I'm
There's,
sorry, what was that?
But I don't.
You heard.
Ooh.
One more time. Please, it's her birthday.
Oh,
Yeah,
good
Ollie.
point. It's well, now I can't think of it. It's the bit in the happy birthday. But like better.
Delightful.
It's good, right?
Is Rihanna in the room? Like,
Look, if I wanted to try hard, I could try hard. I'm a singer,
I mean, he looks
goddammit.
like Rihanna.
You are? What?
I'm gonna press a hard doubt on that one. Anyway.
Did I just insult someone, or was
I
it
feel
a
like you
joke?
just
Or
heard.
oh no,
Who
he said
knows?
he was a singer.
all right, so D&D.
So D&D. This is a D&D show. Sorry, my brain just stopped. I was just about to say, it's kind of interesting that there's currently like a discourse going on D&D Twitter about like, it happens all the time, about evil D&D creatures, and like we're literally in like the second part of a campaign all about throwing that at the frickin', not even at the wall, at the window. Anyway, let's talk to some
Wall.
goblins.
My favorite thing to do.
Yeah. You had like a really detailed plan that I hope you all remember, because you wrote it down. You really did.
I wrote some stuff down.
In
Yeah.
my
Did anyone else see my notes? That
I
wrote
remember
down
there
for us?
being notes, I just don't remember what they are, which is good, because I don't need to. I'm the DM, I don't need to know what you're doing.
Remind my agenda.
But when you were preparing for a battle to render Gemtodur free of whatever control is going on over it, you don't really know the specifics. All you know is that there was a mind flayer. It turns out there's some hobgoblin and goblin mercenaries in the area, clearly hired by Gemtodur to kind of give them some extra, for lack of a better word, clout in the battle ahead. You have the idea of going, you know what, they're mercenaries, we can bargain with them in some way, there's got to be something we can give them to call them off in some way. And that's kind of where we're starting off today, with you leaving the camp after some doppelganger shenanigans and changelings and all that kind of thing. You're leaving the camp to go to the goblin camp and talk to them. Now, there are 2 goblin camps, but I imagine you wanted to go to the one closer. And
Shout at the other one.
yeah, just real loud shouters.
Oi!
That's how the goblins do it.
Was that your best British accent?
No, that was not a British accent at all, actually. That was just a generic fantasy oi.
Yeah. Generic fantasy is British accents, though, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I've learned. If you're not American, you're British, according to all movies.
Even when most of them are filmed in New Zealand.
Yeah, dude. British equals foreign.
My brain
Sorry.
hurts now. How were you looking at approaching the goblin camp? Were you planning on stealthing up? There was a little bit of... So you've got to basically go down the cliffside, which is a rocky area, to this camp, because it's out in kind of the plains, the snow plains. But there is a little forested area nearby, so sneaking is an option. Especially considering you have the ability to cast, like, Pass Without Trace and stuff. But you also might want to make your presence really known and just march up and hope you don't get attacked, right?
I mean, I feel like if we sneak up, we could probably do it, but then it's like, how do you introduce yourself? You just appear from behind a bush, like, hey!
Just take one leg and be like, hey, we have a deal.
You joke,
What are they paying you? What are they paying
but this absolutely happens in most D&D games.
you? Right? Because it's not like if we were trying to attack them, I'd say sneaking, but I think it behooves us to just roll up and be like, yo.
Just march up.
Usually, if you're going to march up, you do a signal or a sign that you are peaceful, like
Yeah.
a white flag for surrender, for example. Is there any equivalent of like that the good old gobos would know, or
That's a good point.
what's that pirate thing? Parlay?
Parlay, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you
can-
are going to parlay, and I was planning on using the term parlay, even if it is a pirate
Awesome.
word. I think we all need more pirates in our
More
lives
pirate
anyway.
words.
And what are hobgoblin mercenaries if not land pirates?
It's that
So-
kind of day.
It's that kind of day. It's hot, so there's gonna be more jank than usual. And this show is already like a mess.
Just like Eton mess.
Uh-huh. No one is gonna get that reference. No one watches this show in the UK. I'm trying to think. Well, I want to go do a history check, but Ollie doesn't even know the answer. So I think what the better question would be: how would you like to prove that you're moving up peacefully, right? How would you four as a group? Because it is just you four. Move peacefully throughout the land. Now, that being said, you do have links to like the courier network, Vilnora. So you have things you could show people in person, but there's not really a way to, like...
Yeah, like, would goblins honor that, for example?
You could
Like,
give me... That is a good question for a history check. And I'll give you advantage, too, because this is, like, your family history. If you don't remember, Vilnora, it comes from a family of couriers.
Yeah. Alright, cool. Advantage.
Get it.
Yeah, it's always funny when you're like, oh, you'll have advantage because it's linked to your family, and then you roll badly. Didn't happen this time.
Hey, it's
Usually...
birthday magic.
So, the interesting thing about hobgoblins is that, despite how some other cultures treat them, they are very intelligent people. And so are goblins, really. They just kind of have a very different culture and way of life. That being said, hobgoblins do integrate themselves so much that they do respect the rights of couriers to travel through lands, unless it's wartime. There were actually wars that happened further north where no couriers could to or throw. But because this isn't wartime right now, you're probably good. And I can actually give you a little bit more information if I can find a thing. The Continental Courier Agreement was only signed 20 years ago. Between all the major countries of the world. That being said, hobgoblins usually respect that. Now, goblins on their own, not so much. But basically, the Jarviskjir Geneva Conventions say don't attack couriers.
Yeah.
Everyone wants their Amazon package.
Everyone wants their... It's exactly that thing. It's exactly why it exists in a real world, because it's too important.
In a general sense, there's like we're talking about like a white surrender flag. There's an entire language in flags, particularly nautical terms. So I'm sure there is a.
There's got to be a flag for parley.
Yeah, there's got to be a flag for
Parley
peaceful
flag.
Negotiations. Do not shoot, but we aren't actually giving up. So
It's a black flag, which
Oh.
is a little suspicious.
Yag.
But
Why
you
did
know,
my brain goes straight for the gay subliminal handkerchief messages that people used to do.
mhm,
Like lilac handkerchiefs.
absolutely. And hobgoblins respect flags. So if you did do apparently a black flag is the parley flag, then that might work.
Also, if there is a specific thing that like a courier would wear, like when they're approaching someone as well, maybe I can prestidigitation that.
Well, here's the thing. If you actually saw on the art I did of Vilnora, your belt buckle has the wheel symbol of
Oh.
House Gallimar.
Take off
Yeah.
your hats.
No.
You're wearing the belt.
flag.
I'm sorry.
That's if you were a goblin party. It's like, well, we need to make a flag. Put up the underwear.
It's time.
The long johns.
I'm sorry, Donaruvian, but I think we just
You
don't
should
know
It's
Go
each
very
with the
cold. The pants are staying on.
other. I mean,
Go with the white flag that's prestidigitation to look white, and then like halfway through change it to red or whatever the war
Yeah.
color is. Like, haha,
Oh.
joke's on you.
Absolutely.
I have the magic. I can do it.
So you could very easily argue yourself as a courier, right? But you have to get up into visual range for that. But you need to not look threatening on the way there. And the fact that you do have a paladin and a cleric and a Madaruvian is a whole thing. Yeah.
Well, simple. All weapons sheathed, like hands out, like.
Oh yeah, and that's a
I
total
was
thing that
avoiding
Therese. This would be
that
a
reference this whole time with what I'm wearing. I was like, oh no.
Just walk out like this.
Therese, you know, peace in warfare is literally like part of your paladin order. So, yeah, I think between the two of you, you can try and look casual as you travel down. I don't even think I'm going to do a roll for it. This is the kind of thing that you guys are trained to. I think for Vilnora, it might not be so much a specific training or just things they picked up, but Therese knows these kind of things.
Yeah, and if we don't want to be threatening, just Vilnora is there, so
If you have
Yes.
Vilnora in front, as the clear non-combatant.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, everyone knows you could be a mage, but still, that'll get you good enough. So
I do appreciate that the two people going up being the least threatening are actually the most threatening when no weapons have been overhauled.
of
Right.
course. Is there anything else you'd like to do, or would you just like to head that way? Head to goblins.
Diamond formation.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. On the way, I'd like to look out if there are any of those tunnels or paths that I could possibly like start looking for. But otherwise, I don't really have
me-
like
An investigation with disadvantage, and then feel free to keep talking.
yeah. Because Sata said that he came from a tunnel, so may as well do that.
Yeah. If you had time, obviously it wouldn't be a disadvantage, but... this is
Oh,
just-
I think we're in a blizzard, aren't we? So
It's snowing, it's not a total blizzard. Actually, there's kind of been a bit of a break in the snow right now, but this is the kind of thing where it could restart at any time. You don't really notice anything like that. I mean, you're sure if you were a worm person, you'd find it easier, because also, Sata doesn't have eye holes in that mask.
oh,
He's almost definitely feeling the ground to feel where people are and things. So he's much better at that kind of thing. It's actually going to be really hard to find this kind of thing. But so you don't see anything on your walk over.
okay. I might look on the way back as well. Just as an
Why not, right?
Yeah.
As you're traveling, you're going down the craggy, rocky hillsides, the snowy environment. You're getting quite close to the Hobgoblin camp. And, these aren't big, but they are camps, and there's two of them. As you're getting quite close, there is the sound of something whistling through the air, and then a kind of thunk noise. About 2 feet in front of you, Vilnora, a javelin lands. It's such a perfect miss, but it's clearly an intentional warning shot. You can actually see a Hobgoblin scout on a slightly high area nearby, kind of clearly looking at you and preparing another javelin in that kind of giving you that warning.
Yeah.
Stay away.
If the black flag is definitely a thing, I would have liked to prestidigitation that before.
Like get some
Before
fabric
we-
and
Yeah, either get some fabric or prestidigitation can make like trinkets, which are small, but like a piece of fabric.
it would be
isn't
very
that-
hard to see from the kind of distances we're talking about. So I think you'd need to color it, but you can temporary color a thing. That's
Well,
easy.
I don't think black fabric should be too hard to find, especially if
It's
we're
just
going-
whether you
going to go
have
at
that
night.
on you, but you do have spare fabric on you, so that's fine.
Yeah,
Rip some of the tent. Just be like, eh.
this is mine now.
Don't mind us, flame face.
Why don't
So-
you give me a
Persuasion?
I was thinking persuasion roll to kind of seem innocent. Because it's not a lie, this is your deliberate plan.
Yeah.
So why don't you give me a persuasion? Give me
It's
it with
either that or
advantage because
performance.
you've also got... Yeah, performance sounds a little gross though, doesn't it? Like, we're
Yeah.
performing peace. Sounds like some governments.
All right.
Sounds like governments.
Yeah. Well, you know
Was
what? That's perfect. That's exactly
Hell yeah.
what we want.
You love to see that.
You do, as they say, love to see it. I just realized I haven't actually got this. Every stream I go, I've missed something out. I've forgotten something. One, I didn't close that cupboard, and so you can see my various subject storage. And two, I didn't turn dice on. So let me do that real quick.
Oh, have you not seen my dice?
No, I see it roll. It just, I see the result, just not the roll. with you wave the thing, and you can sort of see the hobgoblin standing there and thinking about it before actually very deliberately like waving you through and allowing you to travel closer towards the camp. The
Do a little universal like bow, thank you thing, and then
Were you gonna say wave?
no. Hey.
It would have been
friend.
in character.
Hey,
A little respectful bow, thank you. Yeah.
The Hobgoblin camp, this one, which is more easterly, and that's going to be confusing when I show you the area you're in because I did it at an angle. But this is the more easterly of the two camps. Is basically a square of wooden palisades, and actually stone as well as wood. There does appear to be some building more permanent out of stone, which looks like it was probably already there off the little roads that are just so covered by snow you can barely see them. There is one larger tent at the back, a lot of tents surrounding it, and one area which is essentially a open mess hall. It's like a roofed wooden area. You would say it was shoddy construction, if not for the fact that it actually looks very well made. It just looks quickly made, if you know what I mean, out of wood and whatever equipment and things. And that's where there's smoke and the smell of quite spicy food actually wafting from the camp. The scout kind of follows you and actually like rushes, like jogs in front of you to the people guarding the entrance. It seems quite clear that, if you remember, as I described last time, the regular goblins are kind of like filtering out all over the place. The hobgoblins are kind of centered in this camp. So you see a lot of them preparing their weapons, and also just eating and living, right? Do any of you speak Goblin? This is an important question to ask.
I assume that they speak common. Or at least undercommon.
Usually when you've encountered goblins, they speak one or the other.
The answer is no. I don't think any of us speak Goblin.
That's good. That brings me great
This is
joy.
gonna be great.
When you approach, there's obviously conversations happening in the goblin tongue between hobgoblins. You notice there is no effort to describe what's happening to the lesser goblins, the regular goblins. They are just... the ones that are around here are serving the camp. They are cooking or cleaning. But you are waved in, and actually one of the guards, the hobgoblin guards, who are wearing pretty good equipment. It's pretty good chainmail and metal garb with enough furs and hides to make it warm. It's very padded. It makes the hobgoblins look a lot bigger than they are because they're just wearing so many layers of warm clothes. Even though it's summer in the winter part of the world.
Imagining a little gobbo just like covered in like pads,
like filled, yeah, like a toddler in a giant parka. Sadly, the lesser goblins obviously get less warm clothing because they're not as important.
Got little
to
cold
the
feet.
other. They would have little cold feet. And that's actually something you'd notice is anywhere where people have been walking, there has been an effort to shovel the snow away. And that's actually made their little walls more defensive because there's just these mounds of snow. But you are sort of guided in by one of these hobgoblin guards who asks with a raspy voice, "Why have you come here? It seems you want to talk. Why?"
they're mercenaries.
I didn't think of what I was going to say.
You should have planned during
Damn
all
it.
these things. But also, it's in character for
Should we
Vilnora to
pass-
be a little like
Forwards.
Yeah. No.
shocked. These people have weapons
she-
and such.
Yeah. We are here for a possible negotiation. between the mercenaries and other forces that you may possibly be fighting.
You'd want to speak to the one in charge. He'll be here in a few minutes.
Fantastic, thank you.
Keep all your weapons sheathed. Any sign of antagonism will be considered a threat, and you will be dealt with accordingly.
I wouldn't dream of it.
Kind of looks past the small, innocent-looking half-elf to the soldiers, the trained warriors behind them.
With like red eyes and just like big hulking shadows behind her.
Yeah. They don't exactly leave you alone, but you are kind of left in the middle of this camp, sort of waiting. You can see a big tent, which is clearly where a lot of the planning and organization is going on. This doesn't look too uncommon to any other war camp you would have been in, especially in a cold climate. Aside from the lesser goblins doing all of the menial work, running around, digging tunnels in the snow, cooking, ferrying things, that sort of thing. There is a big fire nearby where the hobgoblins of higher rank are talking. But that being said, I've described it like there's a lot of people here. There is one unit of hobgoblins in this camp, which is more or less 10 or 12 people. So you are outnumbered, but not horrendously so, and quite a number are outside of the camp right now, keeping an eye on things.
Just before the big guy comes in, I like turn around to everyone else going like, am I talking with this? Is it just me talking to like,
Here you go.
I mean, if you want me to, I can try
it
and
can't
phrase
be just me.
Okay. I'm just surprised that you want me to handle part of the talking when you barely know me in comparison to.
No. I just thought that this was Sidian's idea.
Okay. Vilnora, I simply imagined you are much more eloquent than I am, but I will be
Yes.
happy to take over negotiations.
No, I'm happy to
Language
help.
of Jules, dwarf.
I'm happy to say things. I just need to know what I'm saying.
I like the idea that we
um,
just shoved you forwards and you're like,
I'm just
Well, it's because Vilnora was walking in front of everyone, and then exactly this thing happened. You realize you are in front, and you are the one talking, and this has happened to everyone sometime, you know?
yeah.
It's so, like, relatable.
I just need to know. I need to practice. Like,
Well, calm
if,
down here.
calm down here.
I think firstly, deep
I
breaths.
talk to a warlord.
First, deep breaths.
Okay.
Just imagine that he's a carrot. In terms of what we're here for, if I were to phrase it, I'd say we are here to discover whether they know the full truth about who their employers are, and
Okay.
Perhaps they might wish to consider alternative employers,
And
given
then clink the jewels.
given the nature of their employers as people who might want to destroy all life on the surface.
That's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
Might.
Ollie, do I know if hobgoblins are featured in the Underdark? Like if
Ooh,
they are a common race?
why don't you give me a history check?
Just straight? Sorry, straight history check?
Yes, I nodded, but nodding doesn't make a noise.
Yeah, sorry. What's the... Oh.
You don't really know. Maybe not.
I can't tell either way. Maybe the more interesting creatures were featured in stories, where these ones were just like
Exactly. Who's gonna tell a story about goblins?
So I'm gonna be saying, we just wanted to know if you know who your employers were, and they're
They're behind us the entire time.
if I turn around, like if you're employers, and if you know who exactly they are and what their goals are, because they might not align with your own. Drow commonly want to take over the entire world, and it's usually not going to mean very good things for everyone. So if there is a price of your services, what could it possibly be? Either to not be on their side, or join another one. Does that sound okay?
That sounds excellent to me. Yes.
That's a good back pocket plan. Should we begin with money or begin with the fate of the world?
I feel like I don't know. This might just be my impression, but I think mercenaries will tend to honor a contract. Otherwise, they wouldn't have very good. Otherwise, they might not get a good reputation.
You're thinking of assassins.
No, but I also feel that they wouldn't have a good reputation as mercenaries, and people wouldn't want to employ them if they turned on and killed their employers readily.
Don't give Ollie ideas.
So, I'm just
You think I need more ideas? My brain is already swelling with ideas.
It's 20 moves ahead.
I'm playing 9th dimensional chess right now.
Maybe we don't know the situation. Maybe they met a mind flayer and agreed to work for them. But maybe they spoke to people they thought were dwarves and have been hired under those pretenses. We don't know. If they were to divulge that, it would be much easier for us to know what we're negotiating with. Because, quite frankly, if they know that they're being employed by mind flayers, there's probably not going to be much we can do to turn them. Apart from an awful lot of money, which I'm not sure we have enough for that.
As the humans say, let's roll with the punches.
Okay, I don't want to be left alone.
No, dear.
If I start to flail, thank you, Donna Rubian, then I want someone to be like, oh, add this or something. And but so we sort of want to go fate of the world. Do you know who your employers are? If you were hired by dwarves, it's a lie because they were mind flayers. How do we prove they were mind flayers actually?
Ed.
The head was delivered like a quest. You don't have the head anymore.
I don't think we have the head anymore.
You don't.
Yeah, but I also feel like they're not idiots. So if I'm like, hey, ever met a dwarf before? Ever met a dwarf that seemed weird as fuck? Because that's who hired you.
Who knows?
You can appeal to their pride and be like, you wouldn't be manipulated.
You wouldn't download a car.
Yeah. You wouldn't download a mind flayer tadpole.
The element of doubt is the important thing here. If they doubt their employers, that's a good start.
But also, Blackthread, when we saw him, he was like weird, but not in a way that made him like a mind flayer.
I think he's either a mind flayer in disguise, or he's just like in on it and is agreed.
Because he wasn't a changeling. You did the thing.
I did do the thing.
You did the thing. So he's not a changeling.
As you're speaking, you hear the sound of a large creature running on all fours, and from the north side of the camp, a warg with a hobgoblin riding it kind of skids. Wargs. This is a big warg. They are the hobgoblin goblin versions of wolves and dogs. far more cruel, far more cunning. Their front legs are almost built to strike more than run. They kind of have this uncomfortable gait. And kind of skids to a pause in the snow. And the hobgoblin on top of it starts getting off. Unstrapping himself from a very complicated kind of like saddle sort of thing. As he's doing that, some of the hobgoblins sitting at that fire, who are clearly of a higher rank, go up and start talking. It's in Goblin, but it sounds like a very intense conversation. You're not sure if that's just how goblins talk to each other, but they're very in their face. There's like, one step away from fisticuffs. There's like,
I'm so glad you've come back safe. Yes.
Exactly. You don't know if it's that kind of thing. This is clearly the hobgoblin in charge. Oh, that's a good idea. Do an insight while I describe this. Anyone who wants to do that. This is clearly the goblin in charge because their equipment is better, but not so much better. All of the goblins have clean and new equipment. But there's a little bit more ornate-y to it. One of his pauldrons has a falcon symbol on it, and there's falcon flags in this camp. The curious thing about him is pierced into his scalp are these bone spikes, almost like spurs, and they're clearly pierced in. They haven't grown in. You can see the flesh that's kind of been pierced and moved, and sometimes they go across the line that runs down a goblin's face, but sometimes it's almost like a hair of these spurs. How
does he sleep?
Carefully.
Very difficult.
Like fresh braids when they're real tight and like
Straight up.
Something we can all relate to.
I like to imagine he hangs upside down like a bat.
Sure.
like fresh braids.
A hammock would be pretty nice with that sort of stuff. Like,
Therese and Vilnora, which is fitting. You can tell that actually there seems to be a little bit of dissonance. It's not impolite, but there's definitely... It seems like there's almost a power structure struggle. And what you kind of are starting to pick up, Therese, because you've seen this among humans, is that it seems like there's no clear second in command. This guy is clearly in charge, but there's two camps. And it doesn't seem like there's one particular person in charge of each separate camp, or one subordinate to him. Maybe that's just the sort of structure that's sort of been organized. But hobgoblins are creatures of structure, very much so. And it seems like the structure isn't complete. And so that is causing some contention among the goblins. But very much this one is in charge. There is a point where you are pointed to. And this hobgoblin captain of the mercenaries walks over, putting... as he's walking over, he does unsheath, check, and then resheath his longsword. In what might be a threatening gesture, but then does walk up to you and clear his throat and start talking. I've been told that you're here to parley, to negotiate. I'm welcome to that.
We just wait for her to speak again.
oh god.
He does sort of speak directly to you. I mean, you were the one that was spoken to before.
God damn it.
A hand on Vilnora's shoulder.
So yeah, she like puts on a smile and it's like, yes, if that is at all possible. We were just wondering if we could possibly talk about the nature of your employers and
I know you came from the dwarves of the mountain. We can discuss such things, but do bear in mind in a number of hours you may very well be my enemy. I will extend to you a politeness. We can have these discussions. But I make no promises that you'll get what you wish. He nods to you at that.
We would like to shift... Damn it, I had it in my head and now it's gone.
That's fine. I'll give you a moment, because he walks you over to the big fire, kind of motions for the other goblins to leave, and you can kind of tell the tension between these other hobgoblins who have more battle experience as they're leaving, and says something in Goblin to a lesser goblin that seems to be directly his like hand servant, who rushes off to the mess hall area, the little canteen they have, and kind of motions for you to sit on the upturned logs and things they have. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Immediately.
I sit
would
down.
like to bring you in for a less bloodthirsty perhaps resolution and a more wealthy contract if at all possible.
We are concerned that you don't know the nature of your employers and the threat they pose to not only us, but potentially the entire surface world. And thus, we think it might be in your best interest to reconsider your current contract.
You can give me a persuasion roll.
Nice.
He does seem a little perturbed at this discussion. He has like one canine that's much bigger than the others, and like,
He likes to file it.
It actually does seem like there's a little bit of effort gone into that kind of thing. Not all goblins care about their fangs, but he definitely seems to kind of be embracing that kind of thing. And he sort of does that and spits into the little mud pit around a fire, and shrugs his shoulders like, I'm willing to listen, but a contract is a contract, and we've received payment for our services defending Gemtodur from whatever may come to assault it.
So you are contracted to Gemtodur.
Yeah.
I would assume that normally such contracts have clauses that allow you to break them if the other side has been
Deceitful.
Deceitful, indeed. And we wonder whether they have been deceitful about their very nature and intentions here.
He sort of does take a moment to think about that. I mean, because that is a logical, argument, and sits down in a place where clearly he's meant to sit. And that goblin, lesser goblin, runs over with a tray and a series of cups that have a kind of orangish warm liquid in it. This is a heavy discussion. We'll continue it after a drink. And there's a bit of a smile that might seem playful, might seem sinister when he picks up his mug. See if you're made of strong enough stuff to be worthy of such meaningful discussion. And takes a big
Donoruvian
swig.
would reach for the cup, look to him for a second, and then take it. Just that sort of like, if there was like, yeah.
I think Therese would also accept one and sort of wait for his cue to drink, as it were.
Yeah, he does do a...
Gobbo's cheers.
There actually is. There seems to be a bit of a... This is almost a bit of a competition. And you can tell that because when you actually have the liquid in your hands, you can smell the very strong chili-like spice coming from the liquid.
Can I take my cup and do a little bit of prestidigitation to make it less spicy?
Here's a good question. Can prestidigitation take the capsaicin out of a drink? I think sure. I think that is a little underhanded.
I wish I had it prepared.
Anyone who's taking a drink, please give me a Constitution save. Anyone who's not taking a drink is a pussy.
Do I?
Well,
you don't. You need to give me a deception check, though.
Okay.
Just streaming eyes. Just red-rimmed, streaming eyes.
Yeah, this is very, very spicy. It seems that there's a kind of thing within goblin culture that spiciness is used in these kind of social contests to prove your mettle. And the human and the elf, nuh-uh. They are Like, it's not like you hack up or throw up or anything, but clearly it like shows on your face enough that he's clearly.
It's got that second wind where it hits the back of your throat. You're like, oh, it's fine.
This is definitely a throaty one.
No.
But quite logically, the stone boy doesn't really have the same. Probably can't even taste the spice.
Right.
You know, just like nah. And he does end up turning more to Sidian and Vilnora for the rest of this discussion because Therese and Donoruvian couldn't handle the spice, quite literally. And he doesn't say anything, but it's just clear that that's the way it is. Says that my contract is with Gemtodur and its leadership. It's not about their morals. I'll admit, it's worth questioning that a dwarven hold is expecting a fight from other dwarves. But isn't this like many other little political fight between yours peoples? Happens with everyone, doesn't it?
I'm glad you're sitting down for this. I don't know how far of a shock you are expecting. This is not a hold of dwarves, but a den of mind flayers at the very worst.
You can give me a persuasion check with disadvantage.
No!
Because
Yeah,
you
that's
couldn't
why I was
handle the
leaving it
spice.
Ice!
It's a very good argument, but you're like
Yeah. Like, it's
I just won! Why?
it's one of
Why
those.
did I do this?
It's one of those things that we should that he will respect it more coming
Right.
from them just because
Yeah.
like they've proven their metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't even respond to you. He just kind of sneers slightly.
Yeah, I will chime into that and just say to him and say, well, articulation seems to be unavailable to Donna Rubin at this moment. What she says is true. It is very possible, if not likely, if not certain, that the agreement you have made was made by somebody wearing a mask.
Did you manage to see any of the people or the lord that you were speaking to? Did they seem weird, unresponsive? Just...
I was invited into Gemtodur to make this discussion. I am a reputable mercenary captain. It's a dwarf, though, isn't it? Acted like a dwarf. As did the others. Everyone wears masks. A lot of people aren't who they seem to be. You seem awful interested in making this peace between us. Maybe you're coming to conquer that place and destroy all they have.
Quite the opposite. You're interested in saving those people.
And the people beyond.
Just as a point, like the dwarves in like the mountain and stuff, they were rambunctious and loud and hardworking and things, whereas the dwarves in Gemtodur were like puppets. I think Vilnora would say that like most dwarves are loud and proud and stubborn of their accomplishments. You wouldn't never see dwarves in such a state just stock still. They really do seem like puppets and stuff.
Can you give me a persuasion check?
Take another shot.
That's perception. Persuasion.
Classic.
Ah, damn.
It was. I had a 20 before. It was bound to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be interesting in its own way.
The contract's been made. I have no interest in changing such a thing. He stands up. I respect that you want not to fight us. We are formidable foes. But I must request you leave and meet us again upon the battlefield.
Just as a thing, would me doing prestidigitate? Oh no, I don't have my illusion. I can't show them what they would look like.
I'll just stand up and say to him, I understand. And if that is how it must be, that is how it will be. All I will say to you, for your own sake, it would behoove you to dig a little deeper into what is going on with those who have hired you. But I can only give so much advice. Whether you choose to act on it or not, I will trust that to your judgment.
I want to play this game now. I want to play Gobbo Sleuth Detective.
Just a bunch of goblins in Gemtodur going like, these guys miss.
Chapter 2, Goblins.
Hell yeah.
He motions to the exit, and I assume you leave, unless there's anything
Exit
else
to the
you
gift
like.
shop, baby.
Hell yeah. I've gotten a souvenir from a whammy.
Yeah, they have souvenirs. Like, yeah.
And this is a good place to take a little break. So we'll be back in a sec.
I need